Hello everyone. Good morning or good afternoon depending upon where you are, or good evening as well if you're in India. So before we go ahead and start for the day, as usual, let us do a quick sound check and see who we have on the room. If you can hear me very clearly, just go ahead and say all good, we are all set, and then we can go ahead and get started. So I'll just give you a couple of seconds so that the latency kicks in, so you should be able to hear me by now. So let me know if you cannot hear me. So if you can hear me, just go ahead and use the chat window and say hello, hi, or just type in one or two. So we are almost on time. So if you're able to hear me, then we can just go ahead and get started. So I got confirmation from one person. Thank you very much, Roja Sri. If anybody else can confirm that you can hear me, my audio is good, and you're able to see my screen, basically, then we should be all set. If you can just get one or two more people confirming, then I will get going. So looks like we have a few people who have joined. So welcome to all the people who have joined, and once again, good afternoon or good morning or good evening, depending upon where you are. So let us go ahead and get started today. So today's session is quite an interesting session. If you have been following my series, we have been looking at API gateway for quite some time. We're looking at securing API gateways, designing better APIs, and protecting them, or offering different tiers for your APIs. So these are different things that we are talking about. And in continuation of that topic, we are going to take a particular use case of offering your APIs for your customers in different usage plans and rates, and key, and how to secure them with API keys. So that's what we are going to see. So before I dive into the session itself, can we quickly see who we have on the room? If you are using AWS already, if you are already using APIs, can you just type in one on the screen? Or if you're new to AWS and you're trying to learn what is APIs, just type in two, so we can see what kind of people we have on the room, and then we can choose the right level of depth while we are covering different topics. So while you are giving me the feedback on the chat window, use the chat windows to just type in one or two, so that I know who we have, and I will set up my screen so that we can continue with the remainder of the session. Okay, so we have somebody, Mr. Arun is already using APIs, and LSO is using it. Ranjit is learning. Fantastic. Is there some other people with a different kind of a background, so that we can touch upon different things? Okay, great. We have a mix of both. Yep, given the crowd, not everybody is going to given the response. I certainly understand that. So let's go ahead and see what do we have today. So as I said, today's topic is API design for performance, and we are specifically going to talk about API keys, API usage plans, and rate limits for your usage plans. So a quick introduction about me. I am Kumar here. I am a solutions architect. I have been doing this for quite some time, and within AWS itself, in the last 5 years, I've been deploying different architectures for different enterprises, from the smallest enterprise to some of the biggest enterprises that you might find on the planet. And you might find my YouTube content in Valaxy channel or in other places as well. And I have created some structured courses if you're trying to learn what is AWS, or trying to automate something in AWS. So you can find the course links in the description of this video as well, or somewhere along the chat also you should be able to find that. And finally, almost all my code, almost all, not all of them, but most of them are in my GitHub account. The GitHub URL is the one that you see on the screen. If you like my work, go ahead and give them a star. Or if you think that there is a bug with them, or you can find better way of writing it, go ahead and fork them and send me a pull request. I am always happy and encouraging contributions from the community to improve the code. So all that code that you are going to see today also is available in my GitHub account. So that is about me. What is the session that we are going to talk about? As I said, this is going to be an session about API and securing your APIs and offering your APIs to your customers. So I'm going to assume a certain level of awareness of AWS itself. This is not an introduction section. We are not going to talk about why AWS, how to deploy certain things, how to connect to them, or how to access services. We are going to assume that you already have that knowledge, and then we are going to talk about API gateway in particular, and how to deploy the configurations using CDK. So what this means is we are going to spend a lot of time trying to understand why we are doing something instead of trying to click around the how part, because going to the console and clicking around things is pretty much anybody can figure out. But why you are doing something like that, why you need these features, how this feature can help you build some functionality for your clients. So that is what we are going to spend more time. So during this session, if you have any questions, then go ahead and use the hash questions as the prefix in the chat when you're typing the questions, so that my filters will pick it up and give it to me, or whenever I'm going to look at the questions, then I can easily find them. And likewise, if you have a suggestion, or if you have a recommendation that how we should do this in the future, or you want something to be improved, then use the hash suggestions as your tag, and then type your message there. Then our filtering algorithm should pick it up. So that is about the session. And finally, where you can get the code, if you are the first time coming to my live stream, then you might not be familiar. Most of the code that I'm going to show today is already published. It is in GitHub, so you can go ahead and do this along with me. You should be finding the link of this particular demo in the GitHub link in the description, and it is in written in CDK, so you can do it along with me. So it is completely automated. Just the explanation part is what we are going to do here. So without much further ado, let us go ahead and get started on the session itself. What is an API? Let us go briefly talk about a minute on what is an API. So when we say what is an API is an application program interface. It enables you to define contracts for your clients. The clients can be coming from either a mobile or a web application, so that they can interact with your backend services, and you define how they will send data and how you will respond back to them. So API Gateway is the service that allows you to do this in AWS and deploy multiple APIs and operate them at scale. API Gateway helps you with things like managing multiple versions of your APIs, managing authorization of your APIs, logging, security, and offering differentiated services. So all of this functionality is managed by API Gateway. So in short, an API is just a contract between the service provider and the consumer. So typically, if you are looking at a logical flow of how things works, this is how it would look like in the real world. You have the client that sends a request to the API server, and that and that API server is going to talk to your backend depending upon the use case. If you're doing caching, the API will respond directly. If you don't use caching, it will go and talk to the backend server, and maybe the backend server will talk to your database also. So if you are not knowing how caching works in API, in the previous live stream, we talked about how to enable caching in our API gateway and make your responses really faster. And if we are going to do this in AWS, let us try and see which component fits in here. So on the database part, you can do a NoSQL database like a DynamoDB, or you can use a SQL database also, whichever is convenient for your application. So I'm just choosing DynamoDB as a demonstration here. And for the web server part, you can choose any of the compute platforms that are available today. The Lambda is an event-driven compute platform offered by Amazon. and it's very convenient and very easy to write simple applications for demonstration purposes. And you can also do that in any kind of an use case depending upon what you want to do. There are financial institutions also using Lambda, and a lot of banks also use Lambda for different kind of use cases. So when it comes to API, we are going to use an API gateway for this. So basically, your APIs are becoming the front door of your microservices. So this means that anybody who is coming to access your API, you need to way of managing them. For example, let us say you are building a new application now. How do you differentiate or how do you make it popular for your application? Because you want users to come and try it. At the same time, you are spending resources and you are spending some having some expenses to manage those resources on your backend. So you want users to pay for it. So there is a dilemma. Should I offer my service for free so that more users will get started with my application and start using it? But at the same time, you are expensing some resources there. So you want to generate some revenue from your application also. That is the goal of any business, right? You want to provide some service for your customer and get paid for that service. So you need to have a different pricing model. So one of the common way of doing this is a freemium model. You might have quite often familiar with it. Let us see it as a different example. In a freemium model, what you do is you create a free tier of services where you provision some amount of request or some amount of access, and also you offer another freemium tier where you have a differentiated service. So when we look at it as an example, let us take it as a weather app that you're building. It just provides anybody with the weather of the PIN code or local postal code that they might be using. So when we apply this example to an API, what happens is on the free tier, what you can do is you can offer only today's weather, for example. So if you're staying in a city like Bangalore or say, for example, Seattle, then you can check the weather for today. But on the free tier, that is all you can do. You can check the weather for one city or only for today. But on the freemium tier, what you can do is you can offer today's weather as well as a prediction for tomorrow also. So that is a kind of a differentiated service that you can offer for your clients in the same application. So this way, you are enticing your users to go and try and choose the premium model, and at the same time you are making sure the users can easily try your service as well. You can see the same example in some newspapers or websites also. They will say like if I remember correctly, Wall Street Journal and Economic Times also have this. You can read 2 free articles per day or per month, and after that you need to pay for that service. Likewise, some online conversion services are there where you have a freemium model where you can upload 2 or 3 images, and after that you have to wait for some time. Then only you can upload more images or more videos to that service. So this is how the differentiated services are being offered using an API. So let us see how we can model this in our application. So taking this example, in a free tier benefits, what I want to offer to my customer is I want to allow 1 request per second. Maybe it might be getting in weather information, or it might be uploading an image, or it might be reading an article. So that is going to be 1 request per second, or you can choose any duration you want, but at a maximum of 1,000 requests per day. If it is going to be weather, I will say I will limit you to for about 1,000 requests or 10,000 requests. Maybe you can set a quota of say 1,000 requests per month also. So you can have this you have this flexibility. So this is the free tier benefits. So when we move to a premium tier benefits, I want to offer something like 10 times the benefit of a free tier, so that the users might be interested in going ahead and buying the service from me. So we are going to say for premium tier, I want to offer my users 100 requests per second, and they will have a maximum of 50,000 requests per day. So this is the premium tier. So how do you go ahead and do this rate limiting in API gateway? So it's all nice business logic, nice business concepts, but how do you translate this into a technical requirement, and how do I implement this? So we have this concept of rate limiting. Let us go ahead and see what is this rate limiting and how we can do this in API gateway. So let us take a simple example here. So on the x-axis, it is a time, and then on the y-axis, we will see a number of requests that is hitting your API. So let us say at 1:30 what happens is our API is getting 4 requests. So we are having all the 4 requests answered by our API gateway. Basically, you are sending a request for an weather information, then the API gateway gives back the weather information, and all the requests are satisfied. And at 1:30, 1 second, that is 1:30 minute, and then 1 second has passed, and then again 4 requests are coming. Then your API gateway is responding it. You are saying that, okay, I cannot maintain at this rate. I want to limit the number of requests that are coming and hitting my API gateway so that I can have a control of the resources cost that is happening. So what you go on do is you go ahead and create a rate limit, and we are going to say that any request beyond the 2 is going to be blocked. So by default, you will have 2 requests per second answered by the API gateway, and anything above that will be blocked. So what is going to happen is at 1:30 second number 2, there are 4 requests that are coming. The first 2 are responded with a successful response by our API gateway, and the other 2 are going to be rejected. Likewise, the user learns from this behavior, saying that, okay, I cannot send 4 requests now, let me try and send 3 requests. But our API gateway has been configured for allowing only 2 requests. So the next time when the 3 requests are coming, again it is going to block it. So finally the user is going to send only 2 requests because they don't want to get denied again and again. So you're coercing your user behavior or asking them, saying, if you want more requests, then go ahead and buy our premium services so that your requests don't get blocked. So this is how rate limiting actually works as a conceptual level. Let us see how we can do this in API gateway. So this is our simple architecture where our client is there on the left hand side, and you have the API gateway and Lambda and the Dynamo database. So what you can do is, if you zoom out the API gateway part, what happens here is each API gateway in every account gets a default limit for a number of requests that it can answer. So if we earlier saw some kind of a throttling scenario where a DDoS attack was prevented, so there we saw that by default every account has a soft limit of about 10,000 requests per second. So this is an account level API gateway limit, and then you can segregate it for a method level also. So you can say that any put method will have 10 requests per second, and get method will have, say, 9,000 remaining requests per second. So you can have method level segregation also, and then you can create an usage plan for each of your clients. Let us say we have a developer called Con, and then we create a specific API key, which is an alphanumeric 20 character or 40 character. You have custom options there. You create a specific key for your developer and attach them to a particular usage plan, and this usage plan can be in free tier plan or a premium tier plan. So this is going to be an individual developer. So let us say this user is going to be put under a free tier plan where this user will have 1 request per second. So we have created a usage plan and also created a key and given it to our user. Likewise, we also can create a partner key. Partner key is somebody like your collaboration partner or a consultant who might need more requests that need to be sent or satisfied. So they are willing to pay the additional fee for your services. Then you create a specific usage plan in your API gateway for this partner, and create a key which is tagged to this usage plan and give it to your partner. So every request that this partner makes, they will send you this key, and using this key you can count, saying that, okay, this user has made this many requests, and this many requests are still pending for this month, so I will satisfy this request. So, and the remaining will be in the unreserved quota, so that you can go ahead and create more plans for different customers, or you can create a combination on however you want to do that. There is another nuanced way of doing it. Instead of saying a partner can have a limit for the entire method, you can have limits for particular methods also. For example, in this usage plan, I will say for get method, you will have this much request per second, and post method, you will have this much request per second. So you have much more granularity when you're going and doing this usage plans for your clients. So you can go really fine grained and then restrict what kind of user behavior you want to achieve. You have seen this almost always, like if you're using Dropbox or any service, when you're uploading on a free tier, you will find some restrictions. But when you go and purchase the premium tier, then some of those restrictions go away, and they will have bigger unlimited plan, even for Gmail also, right? When you use the normal Gmail, I think the limit today is like 15 GB of storage, and there are some limits on the number of emails that you can send. But you go ahead and buy the business version of G Suite, then some of those limitations go away. So basically, it's the same service, but depending upon what tier you are put into, your usage is going to differ, and your services are going to differ. So what is the user experience? Say, for example, you are in a developer con now. You have exhausted your limits, like you had one request per second and you have exhausted. So what happens? Can I keep sending the request and see sometimes that will get satisfied or not? So how do you model this behavior on API gateway? So let us assume you have a client here and an API gateway, and let us abstract the backend. It might be an Lambda function, or it might be an DynamoDB. So what happens is when the user is sending multiple requests, let us say we have the same rate limit as 2 requests per second. What happens is the API gateway will try to perform the first request, and if it keeps on getting more and more requests, it is going to block those additional requests and send back the user and 429 too many request response. So we can see this when we are doing our own testing later today. When we try to throw more requests than the limit, then the API gateway will throw this error 429. So this is the user behavior, but API gateway today allows you features so that you can customize this error response, and you can send some additional information to your user saying you have exceeded your quota, you are in a free tier plan, do you want to purchase more, then go to our premium tier. You can send a link for your premium plans also. So you have multiple ways of customizing the user behavior so that your user knows why they are getting this error, and how they can resolve this if they really want to resolve it. So this is what we are going to see today. As I said, always if you are interested in doing this demo, then you don't have to just listen and learn. You can also go ahead and do it along with me, because everything is automated. So you can just go ahead and deploy it and learn from that. So let us go ahead and see what we are going to build in the demo. I'm going to quickly show you what this demo is going to build, and then we will go to our AWS console and see how we can build this. So we are going to create an API first, which is not going to have any usage plans or limits. Basically, this is going to be in public API. And what this means is I can give the URL to all of you, and all of you can send a request through this API, and we should be able to see this trying to answer all the requests, and the user experience will be differentiated, because there are some limits set on the backend. So sometimes you might get an error, sometimes you might not get an error. So there is no predictability. There is no way I can differentiate the service for two different people. So what we are going to do is we are going to deploy another API which is going to have usage plans. Basically, the two usage plans are the ones that we saw just now. One for a developer, which will have something like 1 request per second, and also another usage plan for a partner who will have something like 100 requests per second, and also a quota. Once the code is deployed, let us go to the console and see where exactly this quotas and usage plans are happening. So just a quick reminder how this entire automation is done. If you are not familiar with the CDK, this entire automation and configurations, everything is packaged into a nice CloudFormation template, which was written using AWS Cloud Development Kit. It is a fully packaged code written in Python. If you're interested in doing something like this, you can go ahead and check out my course, which is in Udemy, on how to write CDK code, so that you can also automate your life and make it easier. So I'm going to take you to my GitHub page, and then we will go to the console to see what resources are today, and then what resources we are going to build in a short while, and then we will take it from there. Meanwhile, if you have any questions, put it in the comments so I can cycle through them and answer them while I'm setting up my screen for my console. So you should be able to see my Chrome window now, and So I am in this GitHub page, this link, let me put it into the chat window as well, so that you can also check it out. As I said, if you're interested, go ahead and if you like my work, go ahead and star them. If you see a bug or a typo, you are more than happy to I'm more than welcome to accommodate any bug request or pull request that you might send my way, so that we can fix and learn from each other. So this is the code that we are going to deploy, and quickly, I have not deployed anything. We are going to start everything from scratch. You see my CloudFormation screen here. There is only two stacks. Let us ignore them for a moment. And likewise, there will be in campaigns API, but let us ignore that also. Apparently it got signed out. So let me refresh that. So you have this campaigns API, but we will be building two APIs after this. One is an unsecure API, and another one is a secure API. So let us get started, and remember, there are 4 steps if you're going to follow it with me. So the first and foremost is having an CLI environment where you have your AWS credentials configured, and also your CDK like npm and the CDK installed. So that is what this prerequisite step is all about. And the second step is cloning the repository and then going into the directory of this repository itself. And finally, making sure your virtual environment, if it is in Python or if it is in a Node.js, then you just go ahead and install your dependencies. So that is what you're preparing your dev environment. So basically, I have done these 3 steps. As I said, I would like to spend more time explaining why we are doing something rather than just copying, pasting and commands here. So we are going to start with deploying this application, which is going to be step 4. So if I take you to my Visual Studio Code, I should be able to start from there and show it to you guys. So my Visual Studio is here, and I have already cloned my repository locally. You should be able to use the step number 3, which is for cloning the repository and installing the dependencies using the pip install. All the commands are there. So if I do a cdk ls, and remember this .env that is there on the prefix says that I am in the virtual environment, and if I do a cdk ls, it is going to list me the stacks that are there. So as I said earlier, I am going to deploy the unsecure API first and see what is the user behavior, what is missing, where the usage keys, where the usage plans, API keys are to be configured, and what are missing. Then we will go ahead and deploy the secure API with keys and see what is the difference between them. So let us go ahead and deploy the first one. Oh, I have apparently copied the URL. So let me just do it again. So this should, what this should do is this should basically package all the necessary code from my local developer machine and create a CloudFormation template and a trigger in my account. That is why I said you need to have your CLI configured. So in the meantime, can somebody tell me whether you can see my terminal screen clearly, or is the font size is good enough, or should we go ahead and change it? Because I already changed it. I think it should be visible. Can you just give a quick confirmation? Meanwhile, I'm just going to take you to my console and see what is getting built there. So if it is not visible, just go ahead and put it in the chat window saying that I cannot see the screen, or the font size needs to be increased. So here I am in my CloudFormation console, and you can see here there is an unsecure API that is getting built. Likewise, if I go to my API gateway, I should be able to see an new API that is getting built. You can see here unsecure public API. Once this is deployed, in the output section, we should be able to go and find, oh, we have got it create complete. So in the output section, we should be able to hit this URL. So I'm just going to put this in the chat window. I would like a couple of people try this URL. It should basically send me a greetings message with an timestamp, which will basically say that that API is working and there are no issues or no controls there. So While you guys are going and checking it, I'm just going to navigate to the API gateway itself. So this is the API gateway of this unsecure public API. And if I take your attention to my usage plans, and you can see here there are API keys. So right now there are no usage plans attached to my unsecure public API. Likewise, there are no API keys that are attached to this particular API. So anybody who's coming to this API basically will be hitting my account level limits. So that is not a good experience. I don't want my users to have, let me just show you here. If I choose this, and you can see here, these are all account level limits. I'm not customizing anything. So I would not recommend you to do this, because this is not best practice. You would like to have a control of who is accessing your API and how many requests they can make, and what requests are allowed, what requests are not allowed. So this is what we want to control. So you can see here my account level limit is, like, your current account level limit is 10,000 requests per second with a burst of 5,000 requests. This article is really good in my opinion on explaining how this burst limit works. If you're interested in how this rate limiting and things like this works, I would recommend you to go ahead and look at that. So can somebody confirm that in the chat that you are able to access the URL? So let me just try it myself once here. So you should be seeing a very simple, similar message here, just a message which says, hello from Mystical World, how is it going? And then you should be also able to see a timestamp with when the backend was executing this API. So as you let me see if I can show you in my dashboard as well. If I go to my dashboard, you can see here if there are API calls, there were like 4 calls. So I made 1 request, so that means that 3 more people have tried it. So you can see here basically it's like everybody is getting the same uniform experience, but we want to offer a differentiated experience for our users. That is why it's really important to have an usage plan. So let us go to our Visual Studio Code and try and deploy the secure API with keys. So this is deployed. Let me do a CDK ls to find out what stacks are there. Then we'll go ahead and deploy our secure API as well. So this is the stack that I want to deploy. Let me copy that, CDK, deploy, and secure API with keys. So I'm just going to give it a minute, and then let us go to our CloudFormation console and see what is getting built there and how we can use it. So I'm going to use a tool like Postman. You can use Postman if you are comfortable using it, if you can install it in your dev environment, or if you don't have the flexibility of installing it, you can use curl also. The GitHub article has instructions on how to use curl for doing the request, because we are going to make a request where you need to update the headers. Like, for example, if you put it into your browser directly, it won't work, because this API is protected by an key. So putting it in the browser is not going to work. So let me just demonstrate it once the stack is deployed. Let me take you back to my Chrome window. So if I go to my CloudFormation, under stacks section, we should be able to see another stack that is getting deployed, secure APIs with keys. So this is also completed. So this is the URL, and fingers crossed, if I put it into my browser, I should be getting an error message which says forbidden. So let me just put it into the chat window also, if anybody wants to try it out. You need an API key to access this particular API. So we are going to offer a differentiated service for our users now with using API keys. So let me take you to my API gateway and show you where you can get the keys. So let me just go ahead and duplicate this page. I'm going to leave this page as for the unsecure public API, and this page for the secure API with keys. So in this API, if I take you to my usage plans, we should be able to see two usage plans. And as you can see here, there is a developer usage plan and a partner usage plan. So if I go ahead and click on my developer usage plan, and you can see here, I have set it as a limit of 1 request per second, and this user cannot burst beyond that. So that user is limited to 1 request, and there's a quota every single day. That is basically 1440 requests. That is every minute this user can make 1 request. So anything beyond that, that is going to be blocked for this user. So we will demonstrate it by running a simple for loop with a lot of requests and see how much this user is getting throttled. So this is the rate and this is the quota for this user, and you can see here I have attached it to this API. So basically this is the usage plan that I have attached it to my secure API with keys. So basically you can go ahead and attach it to any other API also. So once you click on this, it just lists which API you want to do attach it to, then you can go ahead and configure it. So basically I have attached it to this method, and I have, for this API, I have not done any method level method level throttling. If you remember, while we were talking about method level throttling, put methods and get methods can also be throttled. Then you can go ahead and configure them. All you do is just go ahead clearly and then say, under this I have only one method, so it just shows get here. If you have both the methods configured, get and put, then you can go ahead and mention how much rates you want to allow and what is the burst limits that you want to allow. But this is a demonstration for API keys and the rate limiting. I did not do post method also, otherwise I could have shown that as well. Anyway, this is for the developer. You can see here there is a very modest request of 1 request per second. But if I go to my partner usage plan for the same API, you see here this is the same API. Let us see if I can open this in another window. So you can see here I have opened the partner usage plan. This is about 10 times the request of my developer. Here is my developer, which can make 1 request per second. And here is my partner, which can make 10 times more requests, say for example 10 requests per second, and burst up to 100 requests. And in a single day, that is about 86,400. Basically every second this user can make about 1 request in a whole day, but at a rate of 10 requests per second. So it works in a different way. And here, as I said, I have configured some method level throttling also. If I go ahead and choose this, I have done the same thing. So this user can have 5 requests per second, although I have just, if you remember, for this entire user I have given 10 requests per second, but for the get method I have gone ahead and said this user can only make 5. So if there is another method for get /greater, say version 1, then I can say for that method this user can go ahead and have another 5 requests per second. So totally it cannot exceed this limit here, otherwise you will be running into contentions and only the maximum limit that user can request, then that will only be taken into effect. So where is the keys? So we talked about the usage plans, so differentiated user experience. So now you need to have the keys, right? So you can see here that these are the keys. So before I go ahead and use the partner keys, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the developer keys first, and then we will go ahead and use them. So this is the developer key, developer con key, and here you can see the attachment to this usage plan. And if I click on this, it will show the API key. So basically this is the API key that I need to use for every single request that I make to this API. Then only the request will be successful. So what we are going to do is we are going to use a tool like Postman. So first is let me copy this URL, and let me see if I can bring up a Postman tool. So under Postman, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new request. You can do the same thing in curl also, if you remember. So under this, there is so let us move to headers. We need to add an header. And if I remember correctly, it is XAMZ key, but let me go and check my documentation, because these headers are something that I keep forgetting. So under testing the solution, you can see here there is a rate limit. So this is the header that we need to add. Let me go ahead and choose my public browser. So you can see here I am under the testing the solution, and this is the header that we need to add X API keys, and we need to make sure we are adding this into our Postman tool as well. So let us go to Postman and add our keys, and finally we need to find the value, and the value is also in my API gateway page. So let me copy this. So now I am all set. All I have to do is just to go ahead and click on send. Then I should be getting a successful response. So you can see here I received a response, but if I go ahead and let me demonstrate the same thing in Postman also. If I'm going to do this without the header, which is going to give me an error message saying the request is blocked. And if I go to your headers, if you Google for this, why I get a forbidden exception, one of the reasons the forbidden exception is a key missing. So you can see here this is a 403. If you go and try and see troubleshoot API gateway errors for forbidden exception, missing API key is also returned as a forbidden exception. But anyway, that is a different topic altogether. So we have made an secure request with our developer API keys. So what I'm going to demonstrate now next is how can we show the rate limiting is actually working. So if you make multiple requests, what happens? So I'm going to take you to my browser. So if you can see my browser window now, you can see here I've just written a very simple crude bash script. What this script means is you just fill in your API gateway URL and then followed by your key here. Then you just go ahead and run this in your bash or any CLI, like I'm going to do it in my developer machine. What this means is it is going to make 30 requests. Let me just see if I can zoom it. This is going to make 30 requests consecutively to my API gateway with this header key. So this is just a variable. You can change it with your partner key also. So since we are going to request more than one request at some point in time to my API gateway, some of those responses will be returned with a 429 error saying too many requests, and some of them might even be an internal server error, and there will be at least one or two requests which will be successful and giving me a message something like this. So this is what I'm going to demonstrate to show that the rate limiting works. If you go through and console and make only one request, it will work. But if you try to throw more than one request, like an automation, or say if you are trying to take the weather information from one website and trying to show it in your website, then constantly you are going to look up the postal codes one after the other in the service provider. Then those weather websites will block you when you're trying to do that. I have the Dark Sky API is one very cool API. Until recently, they had this the freemium tier. For a free tier, you can make one request per second or something like that. And then for if you want more, let me see. Let me just do this first. Then we can go ahead and talk about the Dark Sky API. So I have done this in my Visual Studio Code. So let us go to Visual Studio Code. So if you clone this repository, what is going to happen is you are also going to get a copy of the script. So it is very simple and easy for you to go ahead and edit them and update them. So this is my secure API key. So secure API URL. I'm going to update that here, followed by my key. So I'm going to update this one. So let us go ahead and pick it up. So remember, we are picking up the developer con user key. So I'm just going to go ahead and grab that and then go ahead and say, let us update it here. So we are all set to make a 30 requests. So what the script is going to do is it is going to create a log file in the same directory. You can go ahead and change this file. So I'm just going to navigate to this directory here. So cd API _ testing scripts. So let me just save this and I'm going to run this file now. So it has made this many request, and you can see there's a new file that has got created. Let me open this. So you can see it's a very crude one, just to demonstrate that if you make multiple requests, it is going to break your API, or that user is going to be throttled and limited, and they will be getting an exception. So this is what happens. You can go ahead and order them and see which request was responded first and which request was later throttled. You can see here some of them are having status 429, and some of them are having status 200. So if I go ahead and run the same script again, almost all of these will turn into 429. So let me just go ahead and run it again. So you remember, right? It is one request per second. So there is a burst capacity that keeps on accumulating. So if I go ahead and keep on running again and again, I'm going to get more and more 429s. So that is how the throttling is going to work. So some will work, some will not work. But if I'm going to do this with my partner key, which has a higher limit, I should be getting almost all 200s here. I should not be getting any 429s. So I'm just going to change the API key here for my partner. I'm going to leave the variable as it is, so it does not matter anything. So I'm just going to change this key to my partner key now. Let us go ahead and pick our partner key from the console. So go here, go to this partner key, click on show, and then copy this. I'm going to update it here, and just to be sure that I'm going to clear this file. So let me clear the screen also. Oh, come on. So this file is empty, but in a short while this is going to get filled with the data of requesting with the partner service. So you can see here I run the request, and almost all of them are with 200. So basically I have a differentiated service for my API. So whereas for one user, if that user is going to throw more requests, I'm going to throttle them and say, hey, you are throwing too many requests, 429, stop for some time and try after some other time. Whereas my partners have undifferentiated experience. They will not even know that there is another user which is getting different experience, and this user will be always having the response answered in a short possible time. So you can have different combinations of user experiences. This is just a simple way of demonstrating differentiated user experience, or a freemium model using usage plans and rate limiting. So that is all I had to share today. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to open up for questions, and I have not seen the chat window for any questions until now. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to look at the chat window to see if there are any questions from anybody. Please go ahead and use hash questions so that I can pick them up. Or if you have any other questions, also put them there, and if I know the answers, I can answer them. So let me go to the chat window now. So I'm going to scroll a little bit up and see if there are any questions today. Was whatever you saw was very clear, or was there something that you did not get it, or have you had any experience of being throttled by any applications that you're using? You can also share your experiences there and see how it goes. So once again, if you are new to this, I would highly recommend you to use the hash questions you might be seeing on your screen. Hash questions, prefix your questions with hash questions. That is the only way I can see them and answer them. If you do not use that, my filters will not pick it up because there are too many windows of streaming here. So it's quite difficult to find out the other messages. So I'm just going to repeat again. So, or just say something like, I'm just going to give a sample question, what is rate limiting? So this is how, if you type it, then I will be able to see it. Otherwise, I will not be able to see it. So I'm going to see quickly if there are any other questions. Looks like we have a very quiet audience today who doesn't have any questions at all. So let me, if there are no questions from you, our side, let me just ask a question from my side. Did anybody try any of the previous live webinars? Okay, let me rephrase it. Did any of you attend my previous webinars? If you have attended, just type in one, and if you have not, just type in two. We have been doing these webinars for almost a month. We are talking different topics and APIs. So if you have attended any of my previous webinars, okay, there is a couple of people who will say yes. Okay, okay. So let us say that is a two-part. If you have already joined my webinar, have you tried any of the previous demonstrations? Because all of them are similarly automated and similarly having a code behind it, so you can go ahead and deploy them. Has anybody tried it? Welcome, Ali. So if you have not tried it, I would highly recommend you to go ahead and try it. And there is a question from Mr. Aslam Syed, and he says, I am new to API. Where should I start learning API concepts? Fantastic question. There are at least 4 or 5 live streams. There is a playlist in our channel. If I can only bring it up. So let me just say playlist. I think you should be able to see my screen, which is showing the list of playlist in Valaxy's channel. And there are many of them. And if you use a search functionality, and you can go ahead and type APIs or AWS automation or just AWS or live underscore streams, which is one of the playlist names. There are plenty of information available to talk about APIs and deploying them and securing them and using some best practices of APIs. And there is another playlist which is available. I think it is called serverless in our channel, and you should be able to find that in that serverless playlist we are using a different technology stack, which is serverless tooling to deploy APIs and API gateways. So that is another way for you to start getting into APIs. And of course, go ahead and fork the repositories and try it out. And it is always helpful if you try it instead of just watching them, and have your own repository and try to modify the code. For example, in the most examples, I'm talking about sending an greetings message. Go and try the change the code and create your own response. Instead of a greetings message, send an, for example, an image, or send some other information saying I'm running in Lambda Python or Lambda Node or Lambda C Sharp or Java, or try to run it in EC2. You don't have to have an API in Lambda. You can have an EC2 or a container also for your Lambda. So try and change different things. So for the people who said that they have tried the demos, were you able to successfully complete them? Were there any issues, or did you find something, some instructions are missing? We are looking for feedback so that we can improve the way that we are presenting the content next time. Okay, we are nearing the hour. If there are no other questions or if there are no other topics of discussion, then I would like to wind up so that we all can go on and enjoy our Friday evening. One important suggestion or a request that I would say is, if you think that there is another time slot or another day that works for all of you, just go ahead and add a comment in this video using the hash suggestions hashtag. Then we should be able to see what we can do about it. Maybe we can change it into a different time slot or bring different people who can do some demonstrations and try and do that. Okay, guys, if there are no questions, then let us not waste each other's time. Let us wind up for the day. Have a nice evening. Thank you very much for joining me on a Friday evening or Friday afternoon or Friday morning. I'll see you in the next one and the coming Friday or the coming week. We will be talking a little bit differently on API Gateway, and we will see how to make some changes on your backend without your customers noticing it. So we are talk about a little bit on CI/CD in the next week on API Gateway. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.